If you're looking for cheap and reliable Ultimate Team coins, check the link in the description for FIFA Coin Zone. They're selling for £3 per 100k on the Xbox at the moment, and £3 per 100k on the PlayStation. Use the code Josh5 to get 5% off. What's up lads, Josh here, and welcome back to another episode of January Done Deals. Today is episode 12, and we have got some absolutely phenomenal transfers to talk about today. And as you can see, Manchester United have a new centre-back, but it's probably not what we wanted, or what we expected, at least anyway. But yeah, we're going to talk about 8 more players today in transfer deals, and yeah, let's get straight into them. And moving on to the first transfer of the day, guys, we're going to be talking about Schurrle AMEOBI. Of course, he's been around for ages. He has recently, well, not recently, I think it was like last year, he was released from his contract by Newcastle. No longer affiliated with them, of course, and he's been a free agent since, and he's just joined Crystal Palace for a free deal, of course. And yeah, I'm not really sure about this transfer. I don't think the Crystal Palace really need Schurrle AMEOBI. He's not like the most, the most prolific striker in his last couple of years. But yeah, apparently they've just picked him up for a free deal. And like I said, they've already got Balassi, Zaha, and Dwight Gale. I don't really think they need anybody else, but they've just brought AMEOBI into the fray. And moving on to the next transfer, guys, we're going to be talking about MORRISON, who has just left West Ham United for Lazio, and of course this is a huge transfer to talk about. You don't see many English players leave for foreign leagues, but MORRISON hasn't had the best of times at West Ham. I really do rate him since he's been at Manchester United, of course, but unfortunately he just never really got into the lineups and never really had the starting time to produce into a quality player. But yeah, Lazio see a lot of quality in him, and of course they've just signed him. And I'm not sure if it was a free transfer. Some people, some websites are saying it's a free transfer. Some websites are saying the fee is undisclosed. So I'm really not too sure of the actual transfer fee, whether it's a free or whether they've actually paid a little bit for MORRISON. But yeah, he's now going to be playing for Lazio. Moving on to the next transfer, guys, is going to be the biggest transfer of the January window so far, and it is going to be Schurrle. And of course, he just hasn't been getting enough game time that he feels he deserves. I can imagine his wages are, absolutely superb at Chelsea, so I can't imagine he's leaving for money. So I do expect that he is leaving just for game time. And I think he used to play for Wolfsburg, or I knew he used to play in the Bundesliga as well. So maybe he wants to return to that sort of type of football, or the league of football, of course, in Bundesliga. And this transfer is going to cost about £30 million. So it's like 28 to 30 million pounds. So it has to beat 28 million to, of course, be the January transfer biggest, the biggest transfer in January, because of course Boney is holding that at the moment with 28 million pounds. So it looks like it's going to be about 30 to 32 million pounds for Schurrle, and he will be playing for Wolfsburg if he passes his medical today. And moving on to the next transfer is going to be another big player, and it is going to be João Pereira leaving Valencia on a free deal to Hannover 96 in the Bundesliga. And apparently this transfer is purely because he just hasn't had literally any game time whatsoever at Valencia this season, and he feels like he's just sort of wasting the last sort of years of his career / retirement phase. And he obviously feels like he deserves a little bit better, and that is what he's gone and done. He's just left Valencia for Hannover 96 on a free deal. And moving on to probably the biggest transfer of the day, other than Schurrle, of course, which is £30 million, is actually going to be on the sort of lower spectrum side of the transfers, and it is going to be a Manchester United centre-back. Of course, everybody knows that Manchester United need a centre-back, and we have actually just signed a centre-back, but it's probably not what we need / what we expected. We have just signed SADIQ FITOURI. Very, very strange name. I was really looking forward to seeing, what he was worth and, where he came from, because I saw it on BBC Sport. I was like, oh, Manchester United has signed a new centre-back. Of course, fantastic. You can't really fault that. But then I looked into it a bit more, and he comes from Salford, which is probably like 8 leagues below what the Barclays Premier League is at the moment. So really not what I'd expected or anticipated. But unfortunately, I'm always going to welcome new signings with open arms, so we'll have to see what FITOURI can do. It is a undisclosed fee at the moment, so hopefully we haven't paid too much for him, because he's obviously still a youngster. Used to play for Manchester City in the under-18s, but then of course he was ditched, and he's been playing for Salford for 3 weeks on a trial basis, and we've just snapped him up for Manchester United. Apparently he's got some great talent ahead of him, so we'll have to wait and see what SADIQ FITOURI can do for Manchester United in his years to come. And moving on to the next transfer, guys, we're going to be talking about Destro, who has just left AS Roma for AC Milan until the end of the season on loan. And unfortunately, I would like to say a lot about this transfer, but unfortunately, I just haven't watched a lot of the kid, so I don't really know what he's worth or, you know, if this is a good transfer or not. But AC Milan haven't, well, they were starting to, you know, struggle at the start of the season, but they are starting to come into grips recently with, you know, a good few players that are starting to come through and produce some fantastic, you know, obviously produce some fantastic games for their team, and Destro seems to be one of those signings that, you know, that could potentially be a good striker for AC Milan. Whether they will sign him at the end of the season or not, I'm really not too sure. This looks like it's just going to be some sort of game time loan like a lot of the others. And moving on to the next transfer, guys, we're going to be talking about KAYAL, and of course he was highly regarded by Celtic. A lot of the Celtic fans absolutely used to love him, and unfortunately he has, you know, he seemed to have run his career out at Celtic, and he is now going to be playing for Brighton, of course, in the Championship. They're not doing amazingly at the moment, so I think this is a good transfer for them. Of course, he's you know, he's world known in terms of Celtic, and of course in the Scottish League he's fantastic. But KAYAL has just joined Brighton Hove Albion for, it says an undisclosed fee, but it looks to be about £1 to £2 million, somewhere within that region is going to be the actual transfer fee that KAYAL has just joined Brighton for. And moving on to the next transfer, guys, we're going to be talking about Sinclair, and of course his career just seems to be going more and more downhill, unfortunately. Ever since leaving Swansea for Manchester City, it just really hasn't been the best of moves. He was hoping that he would get into the City team straight away, but unfortunately he has just been a bench warmer since then. Had a few season, you know, I think he's had a few loanies, a few loan spells, and of course it's just not been going well for him. I think he joined West Brom, literally did not do a thing. He was regarded as like West Brom's worst loanee, apparently. That was a quote from somebody that I read, you know, when I was reading up about Sinclair's transfer. But yeah, he's just gone out back on loan to Aston Villa this time, and hopefully he can get his career back on set, and of course, you know, start to fire in some goals again and do what he does best. Anyways, guys, that has been 8 more players covered in January Done Deals. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. It's been quite a big episode to talk about. A lot of big name players, a lot of money being splashed on certain players. Of course, Schurrle being one of them. £30 million for a lot is quite a lot for a player that sits on the bench for most of the time. But of course, we all know his talent is incredible. And of course, FITOURI will have to see what he can do in Manchester United colours. But yeah, that has been episode 12 of January Done Deals. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Comment down below if you think I've missed anybody. And it looks like the January transfer window is well and truly undergo, and we should be expecting some huge transfers within the next couple of days. So thank you guys for watching this episode. Do be sure to leave a like rating if you did enjoy it. Do be sure to follow me on Twitter at Schurrle4, and apart from that, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow.